So 141 House representatives and 48 senators have demanded that the ATF remove its proposed rules on pistol braces. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you love America and the freedoms we enjoy in this country, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. I also want to give a shout out to one of the main sponsors of this channel, and that is USCCA. Through your membership, you get training, education, and self-defense and liability protection. So if you carry a firearm, I highly recommend you take a look at USCCA, and I'll put a link to them down in the details section. So happy 4th of July, everybody. I hope you guys are all having an amazing day and you get to exercise some of those core fundamental rights that we get to enjoy in this country on this amazing day. One of the things I'm going to bring to you in this video is we're going to be talking about the proposed ATF rule on pistol stabilizing braces and the fact that 141 Congress members as well as 48 senators have pretty much told the ATF to remove this rule because they are trying to infringe on your core Second Amendment rights. If you're not aware, what has happened is the ATF has proposed a rule on pistol stabilizing braces, which essentially makes it so that you cannot use a pistol brace or a stabilizing brace on any firearm without it being considered an SBR and subject to ATF regulation, a tax stamp, and registration as well. So let's take a look first at the letter that was written by 141 members of the House of Representatives. This was actually written and authored by Richard Hudson. And this states, Dear Attorney General Garland and the Acting Director Richardson, we write to you today to express deep concerns regarding the recent BATFE, or pretty much the ATF notice for proposed guidance on factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces. So that is that proposed rule that the ATF has put in place to pretty much make it illegal for you to use a brace on a firearm without it being considered an SBR and you having to have that tax stamp and registration of that item. This proposed guidance is alarming and jeopardizes the rights of law-abiding gun owners and disabled combat veterans across the country. The ATF has repeatedly stated that the brace concept was inspired by the needs of disabled combat veterans who still enjoy recreational shooting but could not reliably control heavy pistols without assistance. Consequently, ATF agrees that there are legitimate uses for certain stabilizing braces. If this is the stance of the ATF, then this is not an attempt to curb gun violence as suggested by this proposed guidance, but a direct tax on disabled combat veterans. Should this guidance go into effect, a disabled combat veteran who has chosen the best stabilizing brace for their disability is now a felon unless they turn in or destroy the firearm, destroy the brace, or pay a $200 tax. Furthermore, it could make millions of law-abiding citizens felons overnight. It is unclear if someone currently in possession of a pistol with a stabilizing brace is expected to apply the test to the lawfully possessed firearm, or if there is some other expectation to clarify the classification. Additionally, and more troubling, is the omission of any outline process for disabled veterans to report a disability, exempting them from this unconstitutional process. We are disturbed that a government agency would issue guidance that would tax and take away the ability of tens of millions of Americans, including disabled veterans, to enjoy constitutionally protected rights. In fact, the ATF seems committed to attacking the constitutionally protected rights of all law-abiding citizens. The Second Amendment is the right that allows us to defend our other rights. If we are to uphold the Constitution, this right cannot be infringed. We urge you to take action to correct this injustice immediately by withdrawing this proposed guidance. So that is the letter that the 141 Congress members sent to the ATF telling them this is what you're doing to violate core Second Amendment rights through this proposed rule. You're going to affect actually disabled veterans as well that this item was originally made for. And also you're going to make tens of millions of law-abiding individuals felons simply overnight and to remove this proposed rule. So when you look at the letter from the 48 senators, the first thing that they hit on is that these are not dangerous items. These are not illegal items, that these items, these braces were originally designed for disabled veterans. They state that to one unfamiliar with stabilizing braces, ATF's proposed rule and any accompanying regulatory analysis suggest that these braces are dangerous alterations to firearms designed to help criminals evade federal law. Nothing could be further from the truth, and ATF knows that. After all, it has repeatedly blessed their design, manufacture, sale, and use. So they're saying these are not dangerous items. These are not used by criminals and felons. I mean, they could be used by felons if this proposed rule goes into effect because it makes tons of Americans felons, But this is not something that's dangerous and used by criminals. This is an item that was originally made for disabled veterans that a lot of law-abiding individuals use, and that the ATF has actually said was legal to use in the past. And so this takes us into the next section of the 48 senators letter, where they hit heavily on the fact that the ATF has prior stated that these items are legal and is now pretty much just flipping its position and trying to make everybody felons. They state that in 2012, ATF announced that attaching a stabilizing brace to an AR-type pistol did not convert that pistol regulated by the GCA into a short-barreled rifle regulated by the NFA and subject to the NFA's taxation and registration regime. In 2015, ATF announced that attaching a stabilizing brace to a pistol that could allow the pistol to be fired from the shoulder converted that pistol into an SBR. Just 2 years later, however, in a letter to a manufacturer, ATF appeared to rescind its indefensible ruling in 2015. ATF thereafter issued private letters rulings blessing a wide array of stabilizing brace configurations from a host of manufacturers. So this is hitting on the kind of back and forth wishy-washiness of the ATF, but essentially that the ATF in the past has expressly stated that the use of stabilizing braces and pistol braces on these types of firearms was legal. And then in the letter, the 48 senators hit heavily on what the ATF is actually trying to do. And they state, the ATF has not disguised its intentions. It stated, for example, that the proposed rule proposes factors ATF considers when evaluating firearms equipped with a purported stabilizing brace to determine whether these weapons would be considered a rifle or a short-barreled rifle under the GCA or a rifle or firearm subject to regulation under the NFA. Pistol under the GCA is not even an option on the table for the ATF. So here they're saying the proposed rule that the ATF has put forward pretty much only say that we're going to look at this item, this firearm with a pistol brace or a stabilizing brace, and we're going to determine if it's a rifle or an SBR. But they don't even leave on the table the option to consider it to still be a pistol. They go on to state that ATF has adopted a vague, confusing, and largely subjective criteria to govern the classification determination. And ATF says that it reserves the right to ignore its vague criteria in order to classify a brace-equipped pistol as an SBR if ATF believes that the use of the brace is an attempt to make a short-barreled rifle and circumvent the GCA or the NFA. And so this is actually one of those things that a lot of us took away from the proposed rule that the ATF has put forward, is they have this worksheet and they have this point system on this worksheet, and you kind of go through the point system, and if you have a certain amount of points, it makes an SBR, but if you do not have a certain amount of points, it is still considered to be a pistol. Well, also in that proposed rule, the ATF said, well, you may pass this worksheet, but we still reserve the right to take a look at your firearm and determine that it is still an SBR. And so the closing of this letter is also very strongly worded, and I really appreciate what this letter states at the end. It states that this is plain wrong. The proposed rule is worse than merely abdicating your responsibility to protect Americans from criminals. You are threatening to turn law-abiding Americans into criminals by imposing the largest executive branch initiated gun registration and confiscation program in American history. We urge you to turn back, correct this mistake, and withdraw the proposed rule. And the reason why I wanted to bring you this video on the 4th of July is because this is really what the 4th of July is all about. It is about core rights, and it's about protecting core rights. So one of the things I want to recommend is if you guys have a little bit of time today on the 4th of July, just go leave a comment on this proposed rule on pistol braces and the frames and receivers as well. Just take some time to drop a comment on these, to fight for your core Second Amendment rights, to fight for some of those rights that your founding fathers fought for, and hopefully this never turns into anything that like our founding fathers actually had to do. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you guys like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm. It helps to signal to YouTube that you see value in this video, and it pushes it to more individuals who want to hear this type of two-way news, so that we can eventually get more individuals to leave comments on these ATF proposed rules and shut down what they're trying to do. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and never forget this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.